bell that kept God out. The bells had not rung in the village of Vespera for 19 years. Still, every dusk, the dead gathered beneath the cathedral spire to listen for them. Brother Captain Lucien watched from his trench outpost through a slit in his rusted visor. Beyond the mud fields and coils of barbed wire, the ruined village crouched in the fog like a corpse refusing burial. Black snow drifted from the heavens in slow spirals. No wind carried it. The flakes simply descended from the bruised sky and dissolved into the mire with faint hissing sounds. The men called it ashfall. The priests called it mercy. Lucien trusted neither. Behind him, the trench groaned with exhausted life. Coughing soldiers huddled around shrines from holiness, fed with damp prayer scrolls. Field surgeons stitched skin by lantern light, while flies buzzed in the cold. Somewhere deeper in the dugouts, a man screamed continuously in a voice that had long since stopped sounding human. No one checked on him anymore. The front had frozen 3 months ago, not because the armies lacked ammunition or bodies, but because neither side dared advance into Vespera. Every patrol sent there vanished. Every scout returned wrong. General absolution orders had been issued twice already. Entire artillery batteries had shelled the village until the barrels glowed cherry red. Yet, each morning, the cathedral still stood, untouched, at the center of the ruins, its tall black bell tower piercing the sky like an accusation against God himself. And every dusk, shapes gathered beneath it, waiting. Tonight, Lucien had orders to enter the village, not to reclaim it, but to purge it. Only to find out why the bells had started ringing again. He assembled 12 men beneath the trench chapel before departure. They knelt in mud while the regimental priests dragged a hooked censer across their shoulders, hard enough to tear skin through cloth. "Should corruption take root," the priest rasped, "you are commanded to burn one another alive before capture." The men answered in unison, "As scripture demands." Only one voice trembled. Private Remy. Young, pale, barely old enough to shave. He carried his rifle like a burden instead of a weapon. Lucien noticed. Fear spread quickly in cursed places. By dusk, they crossed no man's land. The earth between the lines resembled rotting flesh more than soil. Craters brimmed with oily water. Corpses lay half submerged in mud, preserved by the cold. Some still moved weakly beneath the surface, mouths opening and closing soundlessly, as if drowning beneath invisible waves. The soldiers ignored them. To acknowledge the condemned was forbidden. As they neared Vespera, the fog thickened until the world became a gray tomb. Shapes emerged only when close enough to touch. Burned carts, shattered statues, trees twisted into spirals like broken vertebrae. Then they found the first body, a Crusader scout pinned upright against a wall with iron stakes through his arms and jaw. It was fresh. His eyes still moved. Lucien stepped closer. The scout made a horrible choking noise deep in his throat. Bill, he gurgled. Blood leaked down his neck. Don't let them. His face suddenly convulsed, then split. The flesh peeled apart from within like wet paper as dozens of tiny black beetles burst from his mouth and eye sockets in a writhing flood. Remy screamed and opened fire instinctively. Gunshots thundered through the street. The beetles scattered into cracks and drains. Silence followed. Lucien rounded on him instantly. You fire again without my command, and I'll hang your spine from the trench gate myself. Remy nodded shakily, but it was too late. Something in the fog had heard them. The bells began ringing, low and slow rings, mournful beyond human understanding. The sound rolled through the village like distant thunder beneath the earth. Every man froze. Several began weeping immediately, without knowing why. Lucien felt his own heartbeat falter. The bell did not sound forged. It sounded alive. The second toll came with whispers, not around them, but inside them. Lucien heard prayers spoken in his mother's voice. A dead soldier beside him heard children laughing. One man dropped his rifle and clawed at his ears until blood streamed between his fingers. Then the fog moved. Figures emerged across the street. Villagers, or what had once been villagers. They walked slowly towards the patrol in silence, dressed in funeral cloth and rotting finery. Their skin hung loose and gray from skeletal limbs. Rusted nails had been hammered through their eyes. Yet they moved with terrible purpose. Remy whimpered, "Merciful God." The villagers opened their mouths, and the bells screamed through them. The sound hit like an artillery. Several soldiers collapsed instantly, blood pouring from their noses. One man's jaw unhinged completely as he shrieked. Another began firing wildly into the crowd, while pale hands dragged him screaming into the fog. Lucien drew his trench mace. "Advance to the cathedral!" The patrol pushed forward through collapsing streets while the dead closed behind them in utter silence, except for the constant tolling of the bells. Gunfire flashed in brief violent bursts through the mist. Shapes lunged from windows and alleys. One soldier vanished beneath grasping hands. Another exploded into a cloud of black insects when struck by a villager's touch. The cathedral doors stood open when they reached the square. That frightened Lucian more than anything else. Inside, candles burned, thousands of them. Their smoke curled upward into darkness too deep for the size of the building. The cathedral interior stretched impossibly high, disappearing into blackness where no ceiling could be seen. And the bells rang overhead, though there was no bell tower anymore. The upper half of the cathedral was gone, torn open years ago by artillery. Yet the bells rang above them. The surviving soldiers entered cautiously. Then they saw the congregation. Hundreds of corpses knelt in the pews, perfectly still, heads bowed in prayer. Children, mothers, soldiers, priests, all dead and all preserved. At the altar stood a single figure in crimson robes, a cardinal. His body had fused with the cathedral itself. Veins and roots of black flesh spread from beneath his robes into the stone floor and walls. His face was hidden beneath layers of melted wax and gold. When he spoke, the bells quieted. You have come here at last, my children. Lucian stepped forward. In the name of the Holy Throne, this place is condemned. The cardinal laughed softly. You still believe the throne is holy? Behind Lucian, several soldiers exchanged nervous glances. The cardinal raised one trembling hand towards the congregation. These people prayed for salvation when the armies came. Your crusade shelled them for 12 days. Lucian said nothing. We begged heaven for mercy, the cardinal whispered, and the heavens answered us. The corpses in the pews slowly lifted their heads. Every face was smiling. Rotting lips split wider and wider until teeth cracked. The bells are not summoning demons, Captain, the cardinal said. They are keeping God out. The candles extinguished simultaneously. Darkness swallowed the cathedral. Then came the scratching. Thousands of claws against stone above them. Lucian looked upward. Something enormous moved in the darkness beyond the ruined ceiling. It wasn't descending. It was just waiting. The soldiers panicked. Gunfire erupted blindly. Screaming followed immediately after. Shapes moved between the pews. Tall, thin things unfolding from the dark like spiders made from human bones. Men disappeared shrieking. Flesh tore. Bells roared loud enough to shake dust from the walls. Lucian fought towards the altar through chaos and blood. His mace crushed one pale creature's skull, only for black tendrils to spill from the wound and writhe towards him. The cardinal watched calmly. "You think this world abandoned by God?" he said. "It is not, my son." Another bell toll shook the cathedral. The thing above shifted. Lucian finally saw the part of it through the darkness. An eye. It was huge, golden, watching through the broken roof. Not demonic, angelic. Lucian froze. The cardinal's smile widened beneath dripping wax. "We discovered the truth too late," he whispered. "My son, heaven is so much worse." Then Remy fired. The young soldier, sobbing hysterically, emptied his rifle into the cardinal's chest. The bells stopped instantly. Silence consumed the cathedral. For one terrible second, nothing moved. Then, the thing above began to descend. The roof vanished outward as colossal wings unfolded across the sky. White feathers fell, burning into the streets outside. The mere sight of the being ruptured stone and flesh alike. Soldiers burst apart where they stood. The dead congregation ignited in blinding holy fire while still smiling. Lucian fell to his knees, not from injury, from revelation. The angel had no face, only an endless mouth filled with human teeth, and it was hungry. The last thing Lucian heard before the light consumed Vespera was the cardinal laughing in relief, because the bells had finally stopped.